With the NBA draft now just days away, all eyes in Philadelphia are headed to the draft. With the NBA Finals now behind us, with the Oklahoma City Thunder winning it all over the Indiana Pacers, all attention and all focus has now shifted towards the offseason and what the Philadelphia 76ers main goal is. Daryl Morey has stated to get younger and more athletic, and while all eyes are on the number 3 overall pick, you can make an argument that the number 35 pick might be just as important, finding a cheap rotation player to fill out on this roster. You look at a team that won the championship last night, like the Oklahoma City Thunder. What did they do it through? They did it through the draft mainly. You can look at a guy like Isaiah Hartenstein. You can look at a guy like Alex Caruso, trade, a free agent. But that team predominantly built through the draft. SGA was a trade as well. But all the role players, all the rotation guys are mainly draft picks. And the Philadelphia 76ers, under Daryl Morey, have done a pretty good job in terms of drafting. They've had some swings and misses in free agency. They've had, obviously, the Ben Simmons debacle, whatever Paul George was last year. But they have been very good in the draft and finding and developing young talent. And while the number 3 overall pick is looking more and more likely it's going to be VJ Edgecombe, getting a high-quality, rotation type player with this number 35 pick is just, I think almost just as important. Being able to fill out that roster. You look at both those teams last night. With the Thunder and the Pacers, what did they really both excel at the most, I think, and what helped them get here? The depth. And we saw, obviously, when Halliburton goes down, it's a completely different Pacers team. Your depth definitely hits a bit of a wall there. TJ McConnell was great in spurts for the Indiana Pacers throughout, not just the entire playoffs, but especially the finals. But you see, when he's forced to play a little bit too much, Tyrese Halliburton obviously out of the lineup, things change. And, depth is, I think, the driving force to why the Thunder were so good this year. So with the number 3 overall pick, it's looking more and more like it's going to be VJ Edgecombe. At this point, I'd probably put it at a 90-10. Still giving Ace Bailey about a 10% chance. But number 35, the pick there in the second round for the Sixers is a really important pick for them going forward as well. So today's episode, I kind of wanted to go over a few prospects that the Sixers might have their eyes on at number 35. We've touched on it a bunch, but this is an article I found from Kevin O'Connor over at Yahoo Sports where he touches on 3 players it's a whole article about the best shooters in the draft, but the best type of shooters, not just like listing 1 through 10. So we have 3 prospects that we're going to break down today that all bring a little bit of a different, special shooting element to this Philadelphia 76ers team, potentially, that they could be, in the market for at number 35, or maybe even on the undrafted market. We saw last year what they did with getting Justin Edwards out of the undrafted free agent market. Maybe one of these guys falls to there, and the 76ers are able to scoop this guy up and add him to a 2-way deal, add him to the G League as these guys continue to develop, because this is a team that they're going to need to have some cheap young players on the roster with all the high price, names like Paul George, Joel Embiid, and Tyrese Maxey getting the big money contract. So shout out to Kevin O'Connor from from Yahoo Sports for this article. As I said, it's touching on like the best shooters in the entire draft. But this is a player right here, Kobe Brea, that I'm very interested in, and I think will certainly be on the board there at number 35. Kevin O'Connor ranks him as the best specialist shooter in this draft. Guy out of Kentucky, played 4 years at Dayton, did his 5th year this past year at the University of Kentucky. But he says it right here: if you're looking for a second round bet to stick in an NBA rotation, Brea has a clear path given his shooting ability, and I think that's what makes him stick out. He's not the greatest basketball player overall. He's not going to wow you with his athleticism. Outside of shooting, how much does he really do? Not a ton, but he has that one defining NBA skill, that one defining NBA trait that, as Kevin says here, help him stick in the league for a while. Drilled 43.4% of his threes over 5 college seasons on 4.9 attempts per game. So he's basically making 44% of his shots on 5 attempts from 3. That'd be one of the better shooters in the entire NBA. With NBA range and a lightning quick release, Brea has the footwork and balance to fire off movement. And though he doesn't create a ton of space with the ball in his hands, he is capable of hitting side steps against a closeout or the occasional pull-up out of pick and roll. So this is a guy, best specialist shooter, I think, coming off screens, being able to a guy where Joel Embiid is demanding a lot of attention at the elbow. This is a guy that's going to be able to make you pay if you're double teaming him, and he's kind of sitting there in the corner. That said, he's not bringing you much else to the table outside of this. He's not going to be a guy that you're asking to go have 5-6 dribbles and go get a basket. But you're able to put him in a situation 12 to 15 minutes a game, kind of like an Isaiah Joe type, I'd say, for the Thunder, where he could get really hot in stretches as well. And it's a prospect that I think is definitely going to be there on the board at number 35. I think he might even fall to the undrafted ranks just because he's so one-dimensional, I think, with his shooting. I think if he continues to develop his defense, he could be a really solid rotational player. but it's a guy that right now is just really a knockdown shooter, and that's what he's bringing to the table. It will probably allow him to stick, but how high of a ceiling does he have? That's probably the reason why he's kind of in this second round range. So Kobe Brea out of Kentucky is a name that we're definitely going to be keeping an eye on come Thursday night, actually, when the second round is. Next guy I want to touch on, Hunter Salas, the best mid-range shooter in the draft, according to Kevin O'Connor. Says it here, Salas isn't a knockdown three-point shooter yet, but from the mid-range, the dude is money. He made 52.3% of his pull-up twos this past season per synergy, thanks to his slippery handle, tight footwork, and elite body control. He's comfortable stopping on a dime, pulling up with balance, or using a half spin to flow into clean looks. Add in his touch on floaters, and Salas has one of the more refined in-between games in this class. And I think that's a interesting guard kind of to add to the Sixers mix. Tyrese Maxey, I think, is a best of both worlds, where he has that deep shooting range ability, but also his ability to get to the hoop. Jared McCain, I thought he impressed me last year with putting the ball on the floor. He was a lot better at that than I thought he was originally, but we know his calling card is going to be that outside shot. I think adding a guy like Hunter Salas, especially if you do have a guy like VJ Edgecombe coming in with his athleticism, ability to get to the rim, and Quentin Grimes showed us the ability to do a little bit of everything next year. This is a different kind of wild card to add to the lineup that the Sixers I don't really think have had in recent years. Name a player besides Joel Embiid that you could say really has dominated kind of in the mid-range area. Hunter Salas, a scoring guard, another player that I think has a legit chance to go undrafted, just because, like it's saying here, not the greatest three-point shooter as of right now, and I think he's another kind of one-dimensional type player where he's just a scorer, but he's a player that I like to use the term like a Tuesday night in January. Like, all right, Tyrese Maxey is out, Hunter Salas, you're going to go out there, you're going to have 35 minutes tonight, and I think he's a guy that could go out there and get you 15 to 20 points on a given night, given the opportunity. And he brings a different skill set to the 76ers that I don't really think they have in their guards as of right now. Sure, Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCain could hit some mid-range pull-ups, but this is a guy that really has dominated in that area, played in the ACC at Wake Forest, also played at Gonzaga, so he's played some high-level basketball, and I think would be another player potentially in the mix there at number 35 or on the undrafted market as well for the Philadelphia 76ers. And the last player I want to touch on from this article, the article hits on a bunch of players like Nipple, guys like that aren't going to be in the Sixers range at 35. It's a cool article. It's got about 10 different prospects on here, but the last one I want to hit on is a big man, Maxine Raynaud from Stanford at 7'1". Raynaud attempted 5.5 threes per game as a senior, pretty wild there, and these weren't basic standstill looks. Stanford ran him off screens, let him trail into transition threes, and featured him in the pick and pop. He hit 34.5% from deep overall and 37.4% on catch and shoot attempts as a 7'1" center. It's a pretty intriguing thing. Kind of sounds like a Brook Lopez type of trajectory, type of arc potentially. Raynaud was even given the green light off the dribble, and though he wasn't successful, 2 for 20, it was a sign of continued growth considering he didn't even start playing basketball full time till senior year of high school. So this is a guy that we're still looking to potentially tap into. Raynaud still has room to grow after 4 college seasons, but his trajectory and skill set make him one of the most intriguing bigs in this class. And you might say, why would the 76ers, use another draft pick on a big man after bringing in a guy like Adem Bona last year and seeing what he did in his rookie year? I thought got better and better as the year goes on. But I do think it's a priority to have as much high-quality depth in the front court as possible when Joel Embiid is your main force, your main figure there. Andre Drummond still, it sounds like he's going to be coming back to Philadelphia. We'll see how that happens, but I'm not really counting on you seeing him in the Sixers uniform playing much this season. I think they're definitely going to turn more towards these younger guys, and Raynaud brings a different skill set for sure than Bona. Bona's your high-flying, rim-running, shot-blocking type of center. Raynaud more of your skilled big man, and as we see here, still kind of working, still kind of developing into the player that he could potentially be. So I would not be mad at all if they take a center there at 35, because I think you're going to need, if you're going to count on Joel Embiid, you need to have high-quality depth behind him. Let Raynaud and Adem Bona battle it out against each other to see really kind of who's worthy of that backup, or potentially even a long-term starter type of spot there with Joel Embiid's knee injury still kind of lingering and being a massive question mark. So I've liked what Raynaud does a little bit differently than Bona. You have two kind of opposites, and I think that's an intriguing thing to throw at teams and basically say, we're gonna kind of keep you honest and kind of fluctuate your lineups as well. Make you have guys that have to go out and guard to the perimeter, but then also a guy like Bona who what he does running the floor really well. How are we going to match up with that? I think it's a kind of a good mix and potential fits here for the 76ers roster. So Those are the 3 players that kind of stuck out to me that from the article that could definitely be in the range there at number 35 or potentially undrafted. Rain out, I think, has a chance actually probably of the 3 to go the highest, maybe even like the back end of the first round. We're right there at the beginning of the second round where the 76ers will be selecting. But Kobe Brea as well out of Kentucky and his, one-trick pony type of game right now, I think, but still a skill set that will help him stay in the league for a while. I think that would be a wise investment at number 35. And then Hunter Salas as well, just an old school type of scoring guard, really good in the mid range, good with the floaters, and a continuing, kind of developing outside shot. But 3 players I think that could be in the mix at number 35 and as well as the free agent market for the 76ers. But draft day is almost here. Well, a couple more videos leading up and then obviously breaking down the selections and everything in between and the undrafted free agent market over these next few weeks. But as always, everyone, thank you for tuning in. Keep it locked here on Sixers Digest. Please like, please subscribe. We will be talking to you next time.